Very good. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and we're now off of recess. Welcome back to our September 22nd meeting. We begin this afternoon with public hearings. We have four, or three, and then we'll have an interview for County Executive's appointee as Chief Administrative Officer, Rich Madalino. And then once we adjourn, then Government Operations and the Audit Committee also has meetings. But our first public hearing is on Expedited Bill 3620, Forest Conservation Amendments. Expedited Bill 3620 will apply the Forest Conservation Law to two or more platted contiguous lots that collectively total at least 40,000 square feet under certain circumstances. Modify provisions related to the preferred sequence for afforestation and reforestation, forest mitigation banks in lieu in fees to conform with state law. It will also exempt agricultural activities from the forest stand delineation and forest conservation requirements only if the property remains in agricultural use. Exempt local government highway construction activities from forest stand delineation and forest conservation requirements. Clarify that modifications requiring the approval of a conditional use special exception are not exempt from the forest stand delineation and forest conservation plan requirements. It will require the approval of a tree save plan for any activity or development exempt from the forest stand delineation or forest conservation land requirements if the activity would impact a significant specimen or champion tree, and provide that exemption granted expires after 5 years if development has not begun. Increase the length of the binding maintenance agreement required in forest conservation plans after the variance process, and generally amend the forest conservation law. A Transportation and Environment Committee work session is tentatively scheduled for Wednesday, October 7th. Persons wishing to submit additional material for the Council's consideration should do so by the end of business day, September 24th. If you'd like to follow the progress of a Council bill, the Council website has a subscribe function. Go to the Council website and use the View Council Records and Legislative Updates link to learn how. Each individual will have 2 minutes to speak. Individuals will be alerted as they approach their 2 minutes and may be disconnected. Also, there may be technical glitches during the public hearing that may need to be addressed by our staff, so thanks in advance for your patience. It is my understanding that Susan Kennedy will be calling on people during the public hearing. Ms. Kennedy, it is my understanding that we do have speakers for this public hearing.
Yes, that's correct. Our first speaker for this public hearing is Kristen Tadday. And Ms. Tadday, you may unmute and you have 2 minutes.
Good afternoon. I'm Kristen Tadday, Forest Conservation Planner Coordinator with Montgomery Planning, speaking today on behalf of the Montgomery County Planning Board. On February 20th, 2020, the Planning Board voted 3-0 to transmit to the County Council required and recommended amendments to Chapter 22A of the County Code. The Planning Board is supportive of these changes as they would align the County Forest Conservation Law with the enabling state law, amended per Senate Bill 234, which became effective on October 1st, 2019. Montgomery County is obligated to incorporate these changes. Therefore, a number of proposed changes incorporate a revised preferred sequence for fulfilling reforestation and afforestation requirements, ensuring that forest mitigation banks are considered before fee in lieu if the requirement is above a threshold. Other proposed changes are needed to clarify and update sections of the Forest Conservation Law. For example, one proposed change would close a loophole that currently allows certain developments over 40,000 square feet to not meet the applicability requirements of the Forest Conservation Law as they should. Another change would increase the length of the binding maintenance agreement required as part of a forest conservation plan from at least 2 years to at least 5 years to align it with the length of the binding maintenance agreements in special protection areas, and because most binding maintenance agreements are extended to at least 5 years before being released. On July 16, 2020, the Planning Board voted 4-0 to transmit to the County Council recommended changes to the Forest Conservation and Trees Regulation of Chapter 22A of the Code of Montgomery County Regulations. This regulation has not been updated since 2001. Therefore, the Planning Board is also supportive of these changes, which would keep the regulation current with the state and county forest conservation law and incorporate current staff practice. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Stephanie Gutterson, and she is also speaking to item 6, so she will have 5 minutes. Ms. Gutterson, you may unmute and begin.
Thank you so much, Council. I just want to echo the previous speaker and say that I am for this bill. However, I would like to see more stringent regulations regarding any clearing of any forest for agricultural use, to include a fee that would be used specifically for reforestation of other areas, preferably nearby, so as not to affect nearby ecosystems. I'd like to see the council have more courage and to take bolder steps to address serious issues such as those directly affecting climate change. Forests are one of our best tools to fight climate change, and I believe this bill needs to reflect that. Now speaking to Bill 3420, the Police Disciplinary Procedures, Police Labor Relations, and Duty to Bargain. Bill 3420 is outrageous and a waste of our time for all gathered today. This bill is a slap in the face to those seeking justice for acts of brutality, other illegal conduct committed by Montgomery County Police, and substantive change to the police system. It keeps all of the power within the police department, granting even more power to the police chief by allowing that person to appoint a minority of members of the public to the hearing board. These non-police members have no real power, and thus their inclusion is a waste of their time and is meant to be a placating window dressing, not substantive change or real accountability. This bill will not make us safer or stop the blue wall of silence. If the council was serious about police accountability, it would join activists and others at the state level to push for the repeal of the Law Enforcement Bill of Rights, which effectively puts cops above the law. The Law Enforcement Bill of Rights prevents the county from making any substantive attempts to hold Montgomery County Police accountable, as noted in Section 3-102, subsections A and B, wherein it states, conflicting law superseded except for the administrative hearing process under Title 3, Subtitle 2 of this article that relates to the certification enforcement power of the Police Training Commission. This subtitle supersedes any other law of the state, a county, or a municipal corporation that conflicts with this subtitle. Preemption of local law, any local law is preempted by the subject of and material of this subtitle. The police as an institution needs to be abolished in its entirety because reform has failed despite countless opportunities. There are 8 things that you can do to abolish the police. Defund them, demilitarize our community, remove police from schools, free people from prisons and jails, repeal laws criminalizing survival, invest in community self-governance, provide safe housing for everyone, invest in care, not cops. Abolition is not just about getting rid of police and their buildings. It's about divesting from punitive systems and investing in a system that cares for people, such as mental health clinics and emergency response, drug treatment, not criminalization, universal child care, and after-school programs. This is not an exhaustive list. A police abolitionist framework entails developing and implementing new social projects, institutions, and a conception of government in solving problems collectively as a community. By conceptualizing the problem of policing as one of inadequate training, as many do, you fail to directly address how the nature of policing and the legal system serve to maintain and exacerbate racial inequality. You seem to fail to appreciate that the basic nature of law, as currently constituted, and the police, since its earliest origins, is a tool for maintaining this inequality. Police reforms that fail to address this reality are doomed to reproduce it. Please stop telling us, through your inaction and lack of imagination, that a better post-police public safety system and, by extension, a better community isn't possible when you haven't even put forth a serious effort to do so. Please don't let the cops, their supporters, or their cop propaganda deter you from doing the right thing, much of which you will probably hear today. In closing of this section of my testimony, I ask the Council to vote against this bill and to not waste our time with such ineffectual, meritless bills in the future. I relinquish the rest of my time.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Denise Guitarra. Ms. Guitarra, you may unmute and begin.
Good afternoon, Montgomery County Council. My name is Denise Guitarra. I am the Maryland Conservation Advocate for Ottawa Naturalist Society. ANS supports Bill 3620 and would like to provide the following recommendations to strengthen our county's existing forest conservation law. First, we ask that the County Council pushes forward a new amendment so that the county's forest conservation law can have a net zero forest loss by following a 1-to-1 replanting ratio, similar to the strongest yet Maryland forest regulations passed recently unanimously by the Frederick County Council this summer. Second, we would like the definition of ephemeral streams to extend protections beyond 10 Mile Creek. Third, we want to ensure priority forests are protected in stream restorations. We also like to set up a work group to continue to explore and find ways to strengthen Montgomery County's forest conservation law and recommend moving the upcoming T&E committee meeting from its scheduled October 7th date to a future date in November. You can find all of our recommendations in a written testimony submitted to the Council ahead of today's public hearing. These additional amendments will strengthen protections for our forests in our now ever-changing environment. More tree coverage and tree roots can help hold on to the soil, and trees can infiltrate more rain on site down in the soil instead of causing more runoff that pollutes our streams, rivers, and our bay. Also, trees are a major part of helping us adapt to climate change by reducing urban heat island effects. Trees can help us heal and reduce our stress levels, something that can be appreciated by all people, especially during this pandemic. We thank the Montgomery County Council for taking in consideration our comments for Bill 3620. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Benjamin Alexandro. Mr. Alexandro, you may begin.
Can you hear me now?
We can.
Excellent. Hello, this is Benjamin Alexandra. I'm the Water Program Director for the Maryland League of Conservation Voters. Thanks so much for the opportunity to testify. And I want to agree with everything the last speaker just said, Denise, and say that, this is a good, modest step in the right direction. We support a lot of the provisions here on things like how it protects the root zones and of trees, of how it closes some of the loopholes, helps the planning department do a lot of their job, a lot of things that Christine has said. We also agree that there should really not be that loophole, and we recommend an amendment for stream restoration so that priority forests are not exempt. And we at Maryland League of Conservation Voters have been working quite a while on a number of upgrades to different county-level forest conservation ordinances throughout Maryland. We've seen upgrades in Anne Arundel, Howard, Baltimore City, but Frederick County, as Denise said, really is the model that we should really look into. So I encourage the County Council to see if they can really come back to being a big leader in forest conservation, no net loss, and ensuring that Montgomery County really leads the way once again when it comes to protecting our forests. So thank you so much for the opportunity, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Robin Clark Eilenberg. Ms. Eilenberg, you may begin.
Good afternoon. Do you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good afternoon. Do you hear me? Okay, great. Council President and members of the Council, I'm Robin Clark Eilenberg for the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, their staff attorney with the Maryland office. And I have, there's some familiar faces to me on this call from my years-long work with the Maryland Association of Counties too, so I wanted to say hello. Thank you for the opportunity to address you this afternoon. There are several positive aspects to the Forest Conservation Amendments that are basically an update and minor changes currently before the Council. We do appreciate the consideration of 2 or more platted lots as a sensible expansion of forest conservation protections that's already in these amendments. But as my colleagues and partners in environmental advocacy have mentioned, even with this legislation, the county will be losing forests, and you'll be losing out on those climate, health, and economic benefits of the green infrastructure that forests contain. So we urge you to consider the trend among other large and mid-sized counties of adopting additional protections to help stem and begin to reverse the history of forest loss from development. Over the last 9 months, Anne Arundel, Howard, and most recently Frederick, as was mentioned, strengthened their forest conservation laws. Each county adopted laws tailored to their own particular situation. In Anne Arundel, where there were few large tracts of developable property remaining, the county decreased its definition of contiguous forest to help protect the retention of those remaining parcels. In Howard, where trees were migrating from one side of the county, the more developed side, to the lesser, they increased the mitigation requirements for projects outside of a project's watershed to try to encourage the maintenance of trees on development sites themselves. And in Frederick, where the county began to address years of loss through a no net loss policy, and also in tandem with that, zoning legislation that resolved recurring conflicts between density laws, limiting variances, and helping with administration going forward. So under current law,
Ms. Eilenberg, your time is up. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
No problem.
Our next speaker is Matthew Wessel. Mr. Wessel, you may begin.
Good afternoon. Thank you. My name is Matthew Wessel. I'm the chair of the Maryland Building Industry Association's Environmental Committee. Additionally, I'm a licensed landscape architect and certified arborist with over 20 years of experience, including implementing the forest conservation law in Montgomery County and other counties. I'm calling into the meeting today to voice my support for Montgomery County Bill 36-20 as written. I believe the bill as proposed strikes a fair balance that protects forest resources while allowing responsible development to occur to meet the county's housing needs, especially given that the majority of future development in the county will occur on previously developed urban sites that are currently unforested, but in fact generate an afforestation requirement that is met through forest banking, which is an important tool that expands forest in the county. I think a lot of the other changes that are happening in different counties are unique to those counties. This law in general impacts different counties differently depending on when they were developed. And as you know, Montgomery County was developed long before the bill. And when you look at where zoning is going to occur in the future, we need to look at how this bill would negatively impact the redevelopment of urban areas and areas that are zoned for redevelopment. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, that concludes our speakers for this public hearing.
Thank you. Then we are closing that. This public hearing is now closed. The next item, and there again, anyone that wants to add anything additional, please do so by the end of business day, September 24th. The next public hearing that we have, item number 5, is Expedited Bill 4020, Uniform Traders License Fee. This bill will select a uniform trader's license fee under state law and generally amend the law regarding licensing and license fees. A Government Operations Committee work session is scheduled for today at 3 o'clock once this council session has adjourned. Persons wishing to submit additional material for the council's consideration should do so immediately by the end of this public hearing. It is my understanding, Ms. Kennedy, that we do have speakers for the public hearing.
Yes, we do. We have 2 speakers. The first is Delegate Al Carr. Delegate Carr, you may begin.
Good afternoon. For the record, I'm Delegate Al Carr. Thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of
Bill 4020 for a uniform trader's license fee. Thank you to the lead sponsors, Council Members Glass and Friedson, and to the entire Council for this bill and for all of your efforts to assist residents and businesses during the pandemic. Bill 4020 will permanently reduce fees and eliminate burdensome paperwork for over 5,000 brick-and-mortar retail businesses and restaurants across the unincorporated areas of the county. Small and medium-sized businesses with a large inventory will especially benefit, such as Snyder's in Montgomery Hills, Griffin Cycle in Bethesda, Mom's Organic Market in Rockville, and Chuck Levin's Music in Wheaton. By repealing Maryland's antiquated, regressive trader's license fee system, Bill 4020 makes Montgomery County more competitive with surrounding jurisdictions. Neither D.C., Fairfax, Arlington, Alexandria, nor Loudoun counties require their retailers to fill out paperwork to report the value of inventory or pay a tiered license fee. Passage of Bill 4020 will require zero county resources to implement because traders' licenses are administered by the clerk of a circuit court. I'm pleased that Montgomery County would be the first in the state to implement this important reform. Senator Kramer and I wrote the 2019 state bill that made it possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Marilyn Balcombe. Ms. Balcombe, you may begin.
Hi, Council President and members of the County Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Marilyn Balcombe, and I'm the President and CEO of the Gaithersburg-Germantown Chamber of Commerce. Along with my colleagues from the Rockville Chamber, the Montgomery County Chamber, Silver Spring, and Bethesda Chambers, we all support Bill 4020, which will create a uniform trader's license fee. We thank Delegates Carr and Kramer for putting this forward in the state. The existing law establishes that the trader's fee is dependent on the value of the trader's stock in trade and can vary between $15 and $800. Because of the amendment in the state law, counties are permitted to select a uniform fee. This is a great example of how the County Council can support small businesses. Not only will the new fee be much easier to calculate, it will be less of a financial burden to many businesses. I also want to take the opportunity to thank the Council for efforts in helping businesses during this crisis. As a Chamber executive, my colleagues and I are on the front lines of this pandemic as it relates to the business community and our local economy. I also sit on the Small Business Work Group of the county's Economic Recovery Task Force. We meet weekly to discuss the challenges facing businesses in Montgomery County. We appreciate Councilmember Friedson's participation in the work group, and I know that many of you are also tapped on the various working groups. I also want to thank Council President Katz for his Friday business briefing. It's been great to hear the many stories from our Gaithersburg businesses that share their stories and their determination to make it through. The county's been closed or semi-open for over 6 months now. We've already seen a number of businesses close permanently and know there will be more. We appreciate all the help we can get. Bill 4020 will not only provide some relief to our retailers, it tells our businesses that you understand their plight. Please support Bill 4020. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, that wraps up the speakers for this public hearing.
Thank you, and this public hearing is now closed. There again, if anyone has any additional information, please do so immediately because the Government Operations Committee will be meeting immediately after this meeting today. The next item number 6, is a public hearing on expedited Bill 3420, Police Disciplinary Procedures, Police Labor Relations, Duty to Bargain Amendments. This bill would amend the disciplinary procedures for a police officer in the membership of a hearing board, remove negotiation of an alternative method of forming a hearing board, and issuing a directive to implement an employer right from the scope of collective bargaining under the Police Labor Relations Law. It will authorize the Chief of Police to issue a final order on employee discipline based on the recommendations of a hearing board and generally amend the disciplinary procedures for a police officer and the scope of collective bargaining under the Police Labor Relations Law. A Public Safety Committee work session is tentatively scheduled for Thursday, October 1st. Persons wishing to submit additional material for the council's consideration should do so by September 23rd. Ms. Kennedy, it's my understanding we do have speakers for this public hearing.
Yes, we do. Our first speaker for this public hearing is Chief Marcus Jones. Chief Jones, you may begin.
Good afternoon to Council President Katz and members of the council. As the Chief of Police, I am presenting remarks today on behalf of County Executive Mark Elrich in regards to the proposed Bill 3420. As you all are aware, there are several major developments centering on the police department here in the county in our current times. County Executive Elrich supported this council's commitment to develop a police advisory commission in regards to policies and practices for this county's police department, and just recently the Reimagining Public Safety Task Force has been created that has the full support of this council. The current bill, co-sponsored by council members Reamer and Rice, is addressing collective bargaining rights for the Fraternal Order of Police, the union representing police officers from the rank of sergeant and below, that addresses discipline and the administrative hearing process, as well as transfer rights by management and strengthening management's ability to create and enforce workplace rules and regulations. While these issues are very important, the county executive is respectfully asking that this bill be delayed while the work of the two entities noted earlier, as well as the pending audit and the current reforms before the Maryland Senate Judiciary Committee, are allowed to proceed. County Executive Elrich believes it is important for the work of these groups with pending reports addressing these topics in this legislation provide a voice to the discussion. This will also provide greater input in the hearing process for any changes to a bill that will require significant impact in the collective bargaining process for the police union. The county executive's request will allow for more transparency from our community and a significant focus of the Reimagining Public Safety process, as well as give a voice to the Police Advisory Commission, which has been directed by all of you for transparency and accountability. Thank you for your time and attention. We look forward to working with you as we have moved forward with making some progress with our unions in regarding improving public safety here in Montgomery County. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Paulette Key Dudley. Ms. Dudley, you may begin.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Paulette T. Dudley, and I've been a program specialist coordinator with the Housing Opportunities Commission for the past 30 years. I am also a founding member and current vice president with UFCW Local 1994 McGill. We represent approximately 1,100 union members, which includes sworn law enforcement officers. As their collective bargaining representative, Local 1994 urges you to reject expedited Council Bill 3420. In rejecting this change to collective bargaining law, we are not advocating that you should protect bad police officers. There's no denying that public safety infrastructure is currently broken. From the disproportionate sentencing and incarceration of our black and brown brothers and sisters to the violence encountered on the streets at the hands of people who should be held to the highest standards of protection. We're as repulsed as anyone by the egregious acts of violence and senseless murders we've witnessed across the country. But taking away collective bargaining rights should not be the way we begin reform. We need real solutions to these problems. All too often, supervisors and other leaders point fingers and place blame on unions for their inaction in the workplace. We can't fire that bad employees because the union has tied our hands, is often used claim. We say wrong. Employers can and should be held accountable for enabling bad, potentially criminal behavior. Police departments have the discretion to mete out discipline against their employees and to rein in or ultimately fire police officers who violate the law. But please don't make unions and workplace rights the scapegoat for police malfeasance. Unions don't make hiring or firing decisions, but we do believe that collective bargaining rights should afford due process that employees deserve. Our union is happy to work together with the county, and we ask you to reject the Council Bill 3420. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Faith Blackburn. Ms. Blackburn, you may begin. Ms. Blackburn, you may unmute and begin. Okay, we will come back to her. Tori
Hello,
Cook.
can you hear me?
Oh, you're there. Great. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, sir.
That's
Thank
okay.
you. Sorry about that. Thank you for this hearing on police disciplinary procedures and police labor relations. On behalf of the Montgomery County branch of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, we submit this testimony in support of Bill 3420. The expedited Bill 3420 would move Montgomery County back to the traditional hearing board format authorized by the Law Enforcement Officers' Bill of Rights. The expedited bill would amend disciplinary procedures for county police officers by requiring the use of traditional hearing board under Law Enforcement Officers' Bill of Rights. Our interest in this bill and support of its enactment is based on over 50 years of advocacy on behalf of people who are often marginalized in this county. Bill 3420 gives the chief of police the right to make the final decision on discipline and the right to issue a directive or administrative order implementing an employee's rights. This authority to dispense immediate disciplinary action to those officers involved in use of excessive force incidents is paramount and prudent to the management of Montgomery County Police Department. As 2020 will surely go down in history as one of the most unabashedly violent displays of police brutality against unarmed, non-resistant citizens such as Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, and Jacob Blake, this in what seems to be a blatant disregard of African American life cannot and will not be tolerated here in Montgomery County. We must ensure that there are no more cases like Robert White of Silver Spring. This bill is a step in the right direction. While the Maryland State Judiciary Proceeding Committee intends to consider legislation to curb constraints on labor in police reform and accountability, we have no confidence that this will happen anytime soon. But the legislation before us...
Ms. Blackburn, your time is up.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Tori Cook. Mr. Cook, you may begin.
My name is Tori Cook, President of the Fraternal Order of Police. I appreciate the opportunity to testify today about Bill 3420. On behalf of the more than 1,100 police officers who serve and protect the people of Montgomery County, I want to express our opposition to this legislation. We have always been and continue to be ready to sit down and work on our shared challenges in policing. We hear and appreciate the public's concerns, and we think there should be an open and constructive dialogue in Montgomery County about policing and public safety. But we should work together to build a better future, not take unilateral action that serves no purpose and breaks faith with those who are dedicated to serving the county. If the way we address police discipline in Montgomery County is a real problem, the police chief and the county executive have a legal tool defined by state law to correct the issues through mutual discussion and understanding. It is the collective bargaining process. We negotiated our new contract this year. If there was a concern, if there was such an urgent matter, if there was a crisis, why was it never brought up in the contract talks as something that needed to be changed quickly? Indeed, we worked through difficult and sensitive issues together through what we thought were open and honest discussions. Let me remind you, too, that the two disciplinary examples that the sponsors of the bill highlights took place prior to a recent negotiations. They were known at the time, and no concerns were raised. Both cases had outcomes that most people would agree are correct. Moreover, both officers officers were afforded due process, and the process you want to overturn with this bill was mutually developed and based on state law, so both the county and police have an interest in making sure it works. Thank you for your consideration of our views of the more than 1,000 police officers in Montgomery County who protect the residents of Montgomery County. We look forward to working with you and the people you represent and we serve.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Jeffrey Rubin. Mr. Rubin, you may begin. Mr. Rubin, you may begin.
Can you hear me?
We can. You may begin.
Council President Katz and members of the council, my name is Jeffrey Rubin. I've been a resident of Montgomery County since 1986 and am currently a member of the Jews United for Justice Working Group on Policing Legislation and Budget. On behalf of JFJ, I provide this testimony in opposition to Bill 34-20. We agree with the bill's sponsors that there is a need for reforming disciplinary procedures related to police misconduct. However, this expedited legislation is problematic and flawed in the ways it attempts to address the problem. The bill is problematic because it relies on the Law Enforcement Officers' Bill of Rights, LEOBOR. This law has been under intensive review in recent years. The Senate Judicial Proceedings Committee will be holding a hearing later this week to consider various changes to it. From a practical standpoint, it would be a mistake to advance legislation based on a law that is likely to change in the coming months. The bill is flawed because it does not provide the public with an essential role in evaluating police misconduct. The only cases that would appear before the hearing board described in this legislation would be ones in which the officer had already received an adverse ruling by an internal police review. This represents a tiny fraction of the allegations of police misconduct. The bill is fundamentally flawed because it rests on a defective foundation, LEOBOR, and the principle it has enshrined that enables the police to investigate themselves and, through the Maryland Public Information Act, restrict as they see fit the release of information to the public. We urge council members to advocate forcefully in Annapolis for the elimination of LEOBOR. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Emil Parker. You may unmute and begin.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Good afternoon, council members. My name is Emil Parker. I'm testifying on expedited Bill 3420 on behalf of Tacoma Park Mobilization and the Silver Spring Justice Coalition. TPM, with over 1,800 members, and SSJC, a coalition of 19 organizations, are committed to ensuring that the council takes advantage of this unprecedented opportunity to enact meaningful policing reform legislation. Unfortunately, I must express the strong opposition of both organizations to the Police Accountability Act. The proposed legislation would, consistent with the constraints imposed by the Maryland Law Enforcement Officers' Bill of Rights, re-implement a hearing board on which law enforcement officers have a majority. At least 3 of the voting members would still have to be current law enforcement officers, and no more than 2 could be civilians. Under this bill, police officers would continue to operate under rules they make themselves. They would continue to enjoy special rights, in particular a pre-disciplinary hearing before a board where their fellow law enforcement officers are in the majority, which are not available to other public sector employees. As a result, the bill would do virtually nothing to ensure that police officers are held accountable for excessive use of force, violating the civil rights of Montgomery County residents, and otherwise breaking the law or failing to comply with department procedures. The bill seems to be an attempt to answer the question of what can be done to promote accountability. Even if LEOBOR remains in place, the legislation confirms that the answer is nothing. To have accountability for Montgomery County police officers, LEOBOR must be repealed or dramatically revamped to allow for civilian review boards with the power to discipline officers. We do agree that the police chief should be able to impose discipline when officers harm the public, for example, in the case of excessive force, but history shows that police chiefs are just as apt to shield officers from discipline. We urge council members Reimer and Rice to abandon this misguided effort to tinker with hearing boards handcuffed by LEOBOR and instead join us in working with our state legislators to repeal LEOBOR. Only then can the council members, with our enthusiastic participation, move police accountability legislation worthy of the name. Should add that our broader goal remains reducing the number of interactions between police and the community by diverting funding from the police to non-policing forms of public safety and community support. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Michael Marceau. Mr. Marceau, you may begin.
Good afternoon, Council President Katz and all council members. My name is Michael Marceau. I'm a lifelong county resident. I am here today for Indivisible Montgomery in support of Bill 3420. We have about 1,800 members. We are parts of communities and neighborhoods across the entire county. Let's all agree that the majority of law enforcement are professional, hard-working people who are on duty 24/7, doing a difficult job in sometimes stressful situations. As such, they must rely on their training and department guidelines to enforce the law fairly with everyone they encounter. County residents must be able to trust law enforcement that everyone can work together to keep our communities safe. As with any workforce, there are times when officers violate department rules or break laws. When they do so, they must be held accountable. For a minor infraction, a letter of reprimand may be what is needed. For more serious acts, harsher measures like suspension may have to be used. For repeat offenders, termination could be the result. These consequences are necessary to demonstrate that police officers are held to the same standards as the people in the communities they protect. We know that unions have long been an important force in America. They keep workers safe on the job, ensure fair wages for their work, and give benefits if workers are injured on the job. Union and employers should have equal input as to how these benefits are agreed to. Sometimes these situations get out of balance and need to be corrected. That seemed to describe the current situation with Montgomery County. As Mr. Reamer explained, the current disciplinary system is slow, uncertain, and complex. Transparency in the process is necessary for the community to maintain trust in law enforcement. Therefore, management directives should be clearly stated, transparent, and not bargainable. The last council took up this issue, and this council should finish it. Indivisible Montgomery supports Bill 3420 and urges the council to support it as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Clint Sobrati. Mr. Sobrati, you may begin.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
We can.
All right, great, thank you. Good afternoon, Council President and members of the Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on this Bill 3420. My name is Clint Sobrati. I am a ride-on bus operator, a transit coordinator, and a Montgomery County resident. I am very active in our community, our county, and in the state. I work to promote better government on many levels. As a community organizer, I understand the need for police reform. What has been going on across the nation appalls me. We must stop the senseless violence and reform the way our police interact in our communities. I agree that change is inevitable and that we definitely need to take a different approach. That said, the way to make necessary change cannot and should not involve eroding workers' rights. I urge the council to work in partnership with police unions and make reforms that best fit the needs of our community without taking away or diminishing police officers' voice on the job. I urge you to reject Expedited Council Bill 3420. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Jill Sedgy. Ms. Sedgy, you may begin. Jill Sedgy.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, sorry about that.
No problem.
Okay, so I am testifying today. I'm sorry, I'm also multitasking because I am at work. But I'm testifying today because I'm an attorney and I've also been a person who has been perceived to be various races. I'm of mixed descent, and I'm testifying because I'm very concerned that we are kind of given a Hobbesian choice of either. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to defer to the next person. I have to take a call. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry for that.
Our next speaker is Joe St. George. Ms. St. George, you may begin.
Hi, this is Joe St. George. I'm with the Women of Color for Equal Justice. And I'm here to say that there are two issues that are of paramount importance. One, I want to commend the council and Reamer and Rice for recognizing the authority that you have to take responsibility to try to create accountability for the discipline of police officers. However, this bill just doesn't go far enough. Lead Board does allow you to take the steps to hold your officers accountable. However, what you've created does not increase community involvement. And therefore, what we are requiring or asking is that this bill be amended substantially because it needs to have involvement of the community on two levels. Number one, in the investigation process, we are advocating that there'll be independent lawyer investigators who are skilled in investigating and evaluating the law to hold at the initial stage police officers accountable to do the job that needs to be done that's not being done. Number two, to make it mandatory that there be 4 community members on the hearing board with the right to vote, to subpoena power, and to give discipline orders to the chief, who will have authority to implement the order, only change the order contrary to the board if it's contrary to law. And then number 3, to give a budget to the independent investigators and to the community members to do a job that's independent from the chief of police office. At the end of the day, your goal and desire is to reimagine the police department. But the discipline issues that are within this organization are great, and it needs separate people that understand, groups that understand the needs of the community, like lawyers from the community and community members, to hold the officers accountable and give the appropriate discipline. Whether Lear Board is still around or it's not, and it is repealed, this department will still need to have a process in place for dealing with discipline of officers. And so we're giving you tools to be able to hold officers accountable. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Tara Merlo. Ms. Merlo, you may begin.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Tara Merlot. I am a social worker with Montgomery County and also a resident. In my capacity as a resident, I urge you to reject expedited Council Bill 3420. While the need for police reform has become glaringly apparent with the horrifying violence we are witnessing at the hands of police, it is a mistake to start to reform the way the police do their jobs by removing some of their collective bargaining rights. This legislation moves too quickly. It does not give the newly created police reform task forces the time to do the important work being asked of them. Accountability and collective bargaining can go hand in hand. It is dangerous to give too much power to one person. Adding community members to participate in the discussion of police discipline and accountability is a valuable added layer of oversight, and these changes should be brought to the table and discussed with union input. I know we can do better for our community. We can reform the police while also upholding collective bargaining rights. I urge you to reject expedited Council Bill 3420. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, that wraps up the speakers for this public hearing.
Thank you. This public hearing is now closed. Please note that anyone wishing to submit additional material should do so by September 23rd, and that the public safety work session is tentatively scheduled for Thursday, October 1st. The next item on our agenda is an interview from, if I can find my agenda here, is an interview for County Executive's appointee as Chief Administrative Officer, Richard Matalino. Mr. Matalino, how are you? We see you on the call. And this is not the first time you've ever been on one of our Zoom calls. And so welcome and congratulations. I have a series of questions, and then if my colleagues have any questions, they will ask theirs afterwards. The first question
Mr. President,
that I have, excuse me, go ahead.
I believe the county executive is online too.
All right, Mr. County Executive. There he is. Yes, I recognize him as well. He's been here before too. Mr. County Executive, did you have a statement before we ask Mr. Madalena some questions?
I don't have a formal statement, and I'm not going to make long comments. I just wanted to introduce Rich. I mean, I know you know him, but I feel it's a really important appointment and let you know that we've had long discussions about where we're going and what we want to do, and working with each other. I have the utmost respect and confidence in Rich's ability to do this job. I know when he was a gubernatorial candidate, I did think he was probably the smartest and wisest on budget issues of all the candidates who ran in that race. And I've had a lot of respect for his work in the community over many, many years. I think Rich started working in the county in 1989. That is a long time ago. I suspect there are members of our audience who weren't born in 1989. So he's been doing this for a while. I really do. I think he's going to be a great asset as CAO, and you do have familiarity with him. I think everybody up here has worked with him in one form or another. I just want to let you know that I'm happy to be presenting him today, and I look forward to his ultimate confirmation, and I think you'll look forward to that too. So I will leave it at that and let you go on with your questioning, and I'll go on with my next meeting.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. County Executive. Mr. Madaleno, the first question that I have is, please tell us about your background and qualifications as they relate to your appointment.
Thank you very much, Council President Katz and the members of the council. Thank you to the county executive for jumping in and doing that kind introduction. He backdated me a little bit longer than I've been with the county. I started my career in Maryland in 1989 with Maryland, what was then called the Maryland Department of Fiscal Services, the nonpartisan staff fiscal agency for the Maryland General Assembly. I joined the county government in 1995 at the beginning of the Duncan administration and worked for the county from 1995 to 2002 in the Office of Intergovernmental Relations, where I worked on a variety of, not surprising, budget and fiscal issues, whether it was the education formulas or building the conference center in North Bethesda, the Strathmore Hall Performing Arts Center, a large number of issues that I had the pleasure to work on. And then in their intervening years, as all of you know, I served in the Maryland General Assembly representing the 18th District. 4 years in the House and then 12 years in the Senate before rejoining the county government as the director of the Office of Management and Budget. For those of you who don't know, I grew up in Montgomery County. My parents moved us to Burnt Mills when I was 3 years old. We were the third family to move into the brand new Burnt Mills townhouses that I'm sure Council Member Jawando drives by all the time. I remember when the McDonald's at the corner of New Hampshire and Lockwood was a Hot Shops Junior. I'm sure some of you don't even remember what a Hot Shops Junior was. I know Councilmember Katz remembers Hot Shops Juniors.
Thank you, Mr. Madalena. I appreciate it.
But I went to Montgomery County Public Schools, then Georgetown Prep for high school. I did both my undergraduate and graduate work at Syracuse University before coming back to the county.
Thank you.
And I left out my family. My husband, Mark Hodge, many of you know, works for the Department of Health and Human Services, has worked for the county since 2001. And we have two children, Katie at Bethesda Chevy Chase High School and Jackson, who's at Westland Middle School. They've both been in the Spanish immersion program from kindergarten. I've had to call Councilmember Albornoz for homework assistance over the years. So, I'm sorry I never bothered Councilmember Navarro with help on homework, but Gabe was always slightly.
I think Gabriel has you covered.
Oh, okay.
Very good. Thank you for that walk down memory lane and for telling us about your family. What do you see as your top priorities when you begin your new position, or you've already began your new position because you're in the acting role, and what are your long-term goals?
Sure. My top priorities are the priorities of the county executive right now, which are to help continue to have the county government and the community respond to the COVID-19 crisis. As many of you remember, the announcement of my appointment was like noon on a Wednesday, and like 2 hours later, the federal government announced that they had an issue with our testing lab. So much of my work since I've begun as acting CAO has been to help get our testing system back up and running. So responding to the coronavirus pandemic, helping make sure our recovery efforts for the county government as an enterprise continue along. We have lots of different ideas for how we restart the county government and are waiting for that day when everyone can come back to work, but continuing to provide the services that many people in our community are looking forward to, participate in, or dependent upon, and how we operate them in this unusual time of a pandemic. Reopening and then keeping opening our schools and our businesses, which means actually enhancing, expanding our testing capacity so that we can get to a point of community suppression, adequate contact tracing, and then isolation and treatment for people who wind up testing positive. It's the goal that we've all been working towards because we all want to get back to normal. We would all like to be sitting in the council office building right now. We would all like to be going out to dinner as often as possible with our friends and families. So the goal is to reopen the county and then find a way to keep it open, which is why the county executive has been, with all of you as the Board of Health, have been very, I think, cautious and prudent as to how we go about doing that to make sure we can sustain the progress we're making. And finally, in the short term, to revive faith in our democratic institutions by actually getting the election done well in Montgomery County. Spent a lot of time on election preparation efforts to try to make sure the Board of Elections has the adequate resources, money, time, people, in order to make sure the election comes off well, at least in Montgomery County. And it's going to be an election like we haven't seen before, with already 300,000 mail-in ballots requested, which is 5 times what happened in 2016. So just finding the space and the people to count all those ballots is a task like the Board of Elections has never faced before. And then the giant long-term goal is always to keep the Montgomery County government as amongst the nation's top high-performing, effective, and efficient local governments. As Councilmember Rice knows from his impact, his work in the National Associations of Counties, and as well as the Maryland Association of Counties, Montgomery County has a great reputation, but it takes an effort to keep that reputation and to improve upon that reputation. And hopefully, with whatever time I have to serve in this office, I will be able to do that for our residents and for the county executive and for all of you.
Thank you. Will you continue the endeavors of your predecessor related to outcome-based budgeting? In addition to outcome-based budgeting, is it the intention of the administration to continue pursuing 2-year budgeting, and why or why not?
So I think the additions that we did this year on outcome-based budgeting were positive. Of course, looking at the FY22 budget development is very different than the FY21 budget development because of the situation we find ourselves in, the needs of our community, the various limitations we have with our revenue. But keeping up that outcome-based budgeting is important so that you and the residents know what you're buying, what the county is actually delivering, and the success that we've seen or the challenges that we face. One of the things I really liked about our experience this past year was trying to bring people together from across departments to talk about their budgets, to find ways to find efficiencies across departments. I think a criticism of our government, or probably any government, is the silo effect within government departments and trying to get people working together to find ways that they can save money. when they're, especially if they're working on similar tasks, is constructive, and I want to build upon that effort. That being said, because of the challenges that we're facing right now with the economy and with our revenues and the uncertainty that we face, I don't think now would be the time to think about a 2-year budget and try to get a 2-year budget off the ground. I know, and I wanted to thank the members of the GO committee, especially Chair Navarro, for your input and conversation about how to improve the budget process. One of the things that obviously maybe the aspirational goal of what we talked about 2 years ago did not fully consider the unique nature of our structure. Every government is different, and you can't necessarily just adopt one thing that's been successful elsewhere and graft it on our government. But I think there are lessons that we learned and successes about the process that we talked about, and that will be enshrined in better and improving outcome budgeting. And I look forward over the next 6 months with my successor and with all of you to work about how we do the successor at OMB, how we go about doing that, and how that informs what we provide you next March.
Thank you. Are there other approaches you are considering to enhance performance management and efficiency in county operations?
Well, as you know, County Executive Elrich is committed to working with our employees and our unions. He's a strong believer in some of the best ideas that we can find for efficiency, for improving efficiency, for cost savings come from actually engaging our frontline workers. We are trying to do that right now in a cost efficiency study group where we've partnered with our colleagues at McGeo in order to talk through ways that we can find improvements and efficiencies across county government, starting with reducing the number of vacant positions we have and trying to make sure that we have staffing patterns that are actually meaningful for delivering services. So it's working with our partners across county government, not just the department heads or the managers, but our frontline workers. I have tried to refocus the CAO operation. I'm going to talk probably a little bit now, and it might bleed into your next question. One of the things that I want to do is have the assistant CIOs and our deputy CAO be responsible for specific initiatives that the Elrich administration is concerned with, that I know many of you share, whether it's bus rapid transit, climate change, reimagining public safety, but to know that those are the people who are going to be also coming across and working with you and your staffs and the public about those items so that we can see the clear work of the Elrich administration in making progress for our community. As I talked in the last answer, it's trying to make sure that there are cross-county departmental collaboration efforts, trying to reconfigure some of the senior management team meetings to focus on clusters of department heads so that we can talk about those issues that they share in common, have more focused conversation about the ways that they can help each other out and save resources. Many of you might know Michael Baskin and the work that the Innovation Accelerator program has done, where we've gone out of our, the concept is to bring people in, especially frontline workers, and give them the tools to redesign their work area, their department, their services. Some of the early work that's been done with the 3 cohorts that we've had have been incredibly positive about not just finding ways to do things more efficiently and effectively, but actually restoring people's excitement about work and their belief that they can make a difference. And again, it goes back to the county executive's belief in the frontline workers having great ideas that we need to get to and get them engaged in trying to improve the county government, which leads to an increased sense of ownership and accountability across the board in county government, which I think is an important way that we help make sure everyone has a stake in delivering our services. Everyone will be held accountable, and that together we can actually improve the work of the county government.
Thank you. And you already did touch on this one, obviously, but how do you envision collaborating with council members and council staff on constituent issues, policy initiatives?
So a good relationship between the executive and the council is, I think, critical to the success of our entire organization. I think it's been, unfortunately, a bumpy ride over the last year and a half. I do, as the county executive mentioned, I have known many of you for quite some time. I've had the honor to serve in public office with two of you in the General Assembly. I have had the chance to work, with Councilmember Navarro when she was on the Montgomery County School Board, and I was on the General Assembly. We have together worked on so many different efforts to advance the interest of our county and of our residents. So I think that will continue. I think all of you, I know all of you have my cell phone, know exactly how to get in contact with me. As I mentioned, we refocused the CAO operation as an effort to provide more contact with the council and to generate or create more expectations for them to be engaged with all of you. As you know, the county executive proposed the director of strategic partnerships during the last budget cycle. We were fortunate to make sure that you allowed that position to be created, but it hasn't been funded. And I would like to obviously talk with all of you about how we create a position that would coordinate all of the county executives and the executive branch's activities with all of you. I know we've started regular individual meetings to make sure we were all meeting with the county executive on a regular basis so that we understand what you're working on and vice versa, so that we can all collaborate better and I think deliver a more effective county government for our residents and our taxpayers.
Thank you. How do you see county government changing in the long term as a result of our experiences during the COVID-19 crisis?
So I think there are going to be many changes, and some that I think are hard to even foresee right now. I think obviously a new long-term teleworking policy is definitely going to be adopted, because I know my own experience with OMB, and I thought we had a liberal teleworking policy because we allowed people to telework. What I inherited from Ms. Hughes was a policy that allowed people to telework 1 day a week. And that seemed like, wow, that was an aggressive telework policy. And now everyone has been teleworking 5 days a week. So I think we've recognized that there's so much that we can do from teleworking that have, again, so many different impacts. Like I would imagine the county government is going to be buying very few desktop computers from now on, that it's going to be only an investment in laptops to make sure that people have the ability to move their workspace from either the office to remote sites to their homes. Obviously, this will give us a chance to potentially reduce our footprint and even pull back maybe on some of our lease space across the county. Of course, other employers are thinking the same thing, and that creates consequences, I know, for the real estate market in our county, so we're going to have to be thoughtful about that. Having people drive to and from work on fewer days a week actually is better for the environment, and I think we've seen that in the world around us. I can't believe how much my daily commute has changed when I do come back and forth to Rockville. So that is having a positive impact on maybe the infrastructure we need to build out and the amount of pollution that is created. I think we're going to have to focus on reducing health disparities. I think it was Governor Cuomo who I heard gave a fascinating speech. I think it was at the convention, where he talked about the virus went after individuals, went after our bodies by attacking our weakest spots. And obviously the people who have had the greatest impact had underlying conditions that worsened the virus's attack on their bodies. The same thing has happened to our communities. The virus has gone right after our weakest spots. It has exploited disparities that have created that were already existent in the community that we're going to have to address. You all have been in a leadership role in pushing the organization to make sure that we look at those issues, that we tailor our programs and our services to the communities where the residents were being hardest hit, where there was the highest level of need. But in doing so, I think we have begun to build out a model that had been discussed about how you put out services through hubs where there is need, how you partner with nonprofit organizations, with faith-based groups in order to make those connections and get the services directly to where people are living, and break apart that more common model of people having to come in to our offices as opposed to us finding a way to go out and deliver services where people live, where people need them, and where we can have the greatest impact. I think we're going to have to invest in cybersecurity because as we've moved so much to the web, so have so many nefarious actors, whether they be criminal elements or other countries that are coming after us. But I think we do need to make sure we have adequate safeguards that allow us to continue to make sure people can telework, that we can have a diffuse system of service delivery. We have to make sure individuals have access to Wi-Fi. It's clearly the case in schools, where making sure that families have access to broadband services so that they can actually do the digital learning. But after we get past DC Day and schools go back to normal, there's still going to be an enormous need for people to be connected and to be able to have access to digital services. And then finally, I think we're moving towards the introduction of more artificial intelligence, power apps, and bots on our services, like our 311 system. I know the state has pulled up a new bot. If you go to the website, the state website, there's Ask Mary. It provides an opportunity for people to engage without necessarily having a lot more staff. But I know my own experience. I tested it out. Every time I asked for an appointment, it tried to get me a testing appointment. It kept sending me to the MVA to get a driver's license. So even when I tried to get more specific. So those are great new tools. We will roll them out. They will be bumpy. People will have criticisms of them, but there will be a way that we can connect with our residents more and more and improve them consistently.
Okay. As you are aware, the Racial Equity and Social Justice Bill became effective on March 2nd, 2020, and on June 16, 2020, the Council passed a resolution declaring racism a public health crisis. What future changes in the executive branch do you contemplate to implement the law and address these issues?
As all of you can remember from the day that you were sworn in with the county executive and his speech that day at Strathmore Hall, he has been committed since day one to building a more equitable and just county government, and it is something that has infused his entire adult life. I think he speaks whenever he can very proudly of the Racial Equity and Social Justice Bill that I know he worked so hard and long with Councilmember Navarro on in order to get that passed. I think all of us are proud that we are leading the state in these policies, if not the nation. As a parent of two children of African descent, the last few months have gotten me to force me to see this community differently than I potentially did as a middle-aged white guy. And so knowing that our county is engaged in this is personally quite satisfying for me. We have 28 departments have already initiated or designated a lead for racial equity and social justice. We are starting the training of those individuals who will then be the trainers that will go back to all of the county departments to help infuse all of our work with a commitment to racial equity and social justice. We are in the process of developing budget guidelines so that hopefully when you see the budget next year, you will see the work that has been done to see how we are spending our money, and if we are doing so in a way that we feel is consistent with our goals and values of racial equity and social justice. And we have included those goals within our climate action recovery plan to make sure we are infusing every part of our work with racial equity and social justice. It's a key component to the Reimagining Public Safety Initiative that the county executive is pushing forward with. And in general, as an organization, I think we have to carefully consider ways that we can enhance the diversity of our work staff, not just our racial and ethnic makeup, but our ability to speak the languages that our residents speak. It has been so frustrating for me. I know it's been frustrating for the county executive and for all of you, the struggles that we have had during this time to adequately, directly communicate with our residents who are speakers of languages other than English. And we have to find a way to make the county government look like and sound like the community that we are and that we will continue to be moving forward over the next few years and decades.
Thank you. Are there any potential conflicts of interest of which we should be aware?
Well, I am a devoted fan of the Washington Capitals, so if any of you are fans of the Pittsburgh Penguins, we will have issues. Now, I don't think our voters would ever elect a Pittsburgh Penguin fan, so I'm confident of that. As I mentioned at the beginning, my husband works for the County Department of Health and Human Services. He is the special assistant to the Chief Operating Officer, Vicki Buckland. So many of you have had a chance to interact with him in order to address what could be potential conflicts of interest. I reached out to the Ethics Commission to try to get a direct ruling. I proposed that for all performance bonuses for MLS employees from HHS, because he's an MLS grade employee, that all of those decisions would be assigned to the Deputy Chief Operating Officer, right now Fariba Kassiri, so that I would not be engaged in obviously making a decision either upon his salary or the salaries of anyone that he might work for or who he supervises. So that assignment about making those decisions about salary awards for the management class in HHS would be assigned to Ms. Kassiri. And then the other issue, because obviously as a merit system employee of the county, he could file a grievance. A grievance could be filed against him. So trying to set up a system where any of those grievances would never go through me as a decision maker, but would be assigned to the Office of Zoning and Administrative Hearings, so that any issues dealing with him in the case of a grievance would be totally out of my decision-making chain. And I've asked for, those were the two things that Mark Hansen and I, the county attorney, talked about that were ready and identifiable conflicts of interest. And then, of course, anything else that the Ethics Commission might recommend in order to proactively wall off any concerns.
Okay. I do have one other question that's not part of the official interview questions. But, Rich, you are, to my memory, the first person that has a political background to be taking this position, to be the Chief Administrative Officer for Montgomery County. Usually it's someone who was more of an administrator in other areas or not from a political background. How do you plan on using or not using your political approach to the position?
Well, I've had the good fortune of knowing all of the chief administrative officers from the Potter administration forward. So obviously, I joke with some of the people that every day I come into the office, I feel like I'm walking into Mr. Romer's office. I'm always surprised that, like, how am I in Mr. Romer's office, and how am I old enough to be sitting in Mr. Romer's office?
And he hasn't gotten any older. It's amazing.
I know. He is a remarkable person. Him and Tim Firestein. It is the fountain of youth. Being the CAO is like, I guess there's something about his office. So, you know, I've seen them and I've worked with them. You know, I think an effective CAO is someone who works well with others, who knows how to reach out and work collaboratively, builds coalitions to get things done, knows how to actually go out and inform residents, constituents, voters about the work that is being done and connect them to government, listens to their concerns and finds solutions to their needs. I think those are the exact same skills and things that I did as a member of the House of Delegates and as a member of the Senate. I don't know why those skills would not transfer exactly to being CAO. I'm not new to this community. I'm not new to this organization. I've seen the people who've operated it. I know a lot of the people in this building and buildings around the county. So, you know, I think if I was, you know, I think if I was plucked from another state with a political background, you might say, oh, how is that going to work? But with my roots in this community and I think the skills that helped make me, I think, a successful elected official would translate directly into being a successful CAO for the county.
Thank you. And I appreciate it. I look forward to voting for you, and congratulations. Councilmember Friedson.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Mr. Madaleno, and congratulations for this appointment. Certainly, we all know you well, have worked with you. I think you will bring a lot of background and experience to this job, and obviously a lot of relationships. And I think that you have noted the communications challenges that we've had, and I'm hopeful that based on the background and the communications that you can help to improve upon that. And it sounds like you are interested in that, and I know you have indicated to each of us individually that is one of the areas that you really want to work on. I am interested in the direction that you would like to take the county and what you see the role here of your taking on this major role. If you look at the past 21 months of the administration, what would you consider to be the biggest mistake that was made, and what you would do to avoid similar mistake, and what do you think is the greatest accomplishment that has been achieved over the past 21 months, and how will you build upon that success?
I'll speak what I think has been, I think the biggest mistake that I was a part of, and I think that was attempting to push through a well thought out, well designed rethinking of our budget process without the buy-in of any of you. So when we actually came over to talk about what we wanted to do, I remember a very difficult and appropriately so session where we talked about two-year budgeting, where we talked about the way to do the results-based budgeting, and the concept that my predecessor had that had worked for him in Baltimore City with a very different structure, and not actually spending the time with all of you, in particular with Councilmember Navarro as chair of GO, to figure out how to get it, how to improve a system that was already working well. Could always be better, but that lack of communication with all of you as these plans were built up, I think left you not necessarily opposed to what we were doing, but in the dark to what we were doing. And therefore, I think it's the relationship with all of you is important to make sure we all have comfort that we're going in the right direction, even though we may have our differences on occasion. That there are no surprises with what has been happening, what we're trying to accomplish. So while I don't think it's like you point to, oh, it was that one incident. It was that not building a stronger degree of collaboration and communication, a stronger working relationship with all of you has been, I think, our biggest challenge, so that you know what is happening and a lot of the good work that is happening across the county government. I think it's been fascinating when I've heard the county executive answer that question about his biggest success. He feels, and I understand his enthusiasm, the things that the reforms that he's tried to institute around procurement, with bringing Ash Shetty on board and trying to have a more responsive and quick procurement system, one that engages the local business community, improving the way that we acquire technology and roll out technology across county government. I think the launch of the Flash system would have been something that at this point we would be talking about. It was great that we had our first leg of an attempt at bus rapid transit up and running, but unfortunately that has been delayed because of the disruption in general in mass transit.
Appreciate that. Two of the biggest challenges that I think that the administration has had are surrounded around communication and on implementation. You talked quite a bit about communication. Could you talk a little bit about, your job, this job is the chief implementer, the chief executor of the executive branch. Could you talk about how you'll help to improve on the implementation and execution side of either turning appropriations into programs that actually get funding out in a timely manner, or how you'll implement the county executive's priorities in a clear and concise and timely manner?
So, it's been interesting that when I first started as director of OMB, some of our earliest meetings internally and with all of you was about all of the new checks and controls that were being put in place because of what happened with the incident with Mr. Bang and the embezzlement that occurred. And it is interesting that many of the things that we put in place have slowed down some of the process and have come back to be a source of time consumption. I won't call it annoyance, but it has slowed down our process in order to get money quickly out the door during this time frame. And so we are around the coronavirus response. So we have been trying to figure out ways that we could improve things and make things work more smoothly, to get money out the door, to figure out money out the door to help people. We've been working very hard to figure out ways that we can attack the hiring process and where there are slowdowns in the hiring process, because you collaborate with the county executive to create a new program. It has new staff, and then it takes months to get that staff on board. We have lots of positions where we could hire people, but it takes so long to actually hire someone that by the time you have effective candidates in the door, it's been so long to actually get them an offer and on board, we've lost that opportunity to hire them. So it's been working to push for improvements within our human resources system, so that we are finding the best candidates and actually getting them, attracting them, interviewing them, and getting them on board in a timely manner. It was frustrating for me just hiring analysts as a member of the OMB team to fill vacancies, and so it's no surprise that across county government we struggle to fill vacancies when you think it would be quite easy for us to be able to attract talented people to come work for the Montgomery County government.
Appreciate that. I'll close with this last question. We are in the midst of the greatest fiscal challenge and most significant fiscal and economic crisis that we have ever seen, not just in Montgomery County, but throughout the country. It is going to wreak havoc on the county. I don't need to tell you that as somebody who's been in the role that you have been in over the past 21 months. What are 3 things that you intend to do immediately or in the very near term in order to prepare the county for the fiscal crisis that we're about to face and the projected $522 million in potential revenue shortfalls that we're expecting to see over the next 2 fiscal years?
Well, the first thing is going to be to give you an update in revenues as soon as we pass October 1st, which is not just the beginning of the next quarter, but it's actually, as you know, September 30th is the next deadline for property taxes. Half of your residential property taxes and all of your commercial taxes will be due on September 30th. It will give us an excellent milestone to figure out how, in fact, our revenues are being hit. I don't know at this point, from a local government perspective, Councilmember Friedson, that you would say that this downturn is actually worse than what happened in 2008 to 2010, when our property taxes fell apart because of a housing bubble drove up values that then collapsed. We haven't fortunately seen that, and I don't know if we are going to see values come down on housing, because they have not. The housing market has remained much stronger than I think we thought it would 4 months ago when some of these initial assessments came out. I mean, it's part of the unusual and difficult world that we live in that I think we each have a hard time reconciling, that housing values are going up. We're getting an enormous number of refinances, which are driving up some of the recordation fees that are coming into the county. But at the same time, while people are buying homes and you've heard the stories, homes going for above asking price on the first or second day that they've been on the market, we've got an eviction crisis going on for people who are dependent upon rental housing. It's the difficulty that we have reconciling sort of the haves and have-nots in our community and in our country sort of informs the political moment that we're on. So I think we will be updating you on the revenues and the community on the revenues, because we might, in fact, be in a stronger position than we thought, just like the state was. And we don't have the direct impact of the sales tax, as all of you know, unlike the state, even though the state sales tax numbers turned out quite good because of online sales. We're going to have to work very carefully, and I know Councilmember Rice talks about this all the time. We have to work collaboratively with the school system. Our biggest budget item, as we all know, 50%, is MCPS. It's helping them come up with a budget that is actually going to give them the resources to figure out this year and next year, knowing that their enrollment is gone haywire. I mean, we've had we've become very accustomed to every year a large increase, and now you have a drop in enrollment. You have kids, kindergartners that didn't show up. People have gone homeschool. I don't know how we finish this year and prepare for next year, maybe the next budget year, the next school year, where potentially we have a vaccine, everyone can go back to school, and how we appropriately figure out what we're going to spend on the school system when all of our normal variables are thrown out the window. So it's collaborating with you and the school system to figure that out, and then it's working with our state partners, because quite frankly, I'm more frightened of dropping state aid and our intergovernmental assistance than I am of our own revenues right now. That I think we're at the point where potentially the loss in state money is the biggest flashing red light we have from our budget. And as you well know from your own experience with the state, we are months away from having a handle on what the state outlook will be for next year.
Okay, I appreciate it. I will yield to the rest of my colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Rice.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Manalino. And I think your last point, thank you, Councilmember Friedson, because you spun him into talking about the relationship between Montgomery County and the state, something that I think, again, County Executive Leggett tried to pride himself on in making sure that he was up in Annapolis because a large portion, whether it's dealing with our schools, whether it's dealing with highway user revenue, so many things are determined by the state in terms of our financial efficacy. And so since a large part of what the CAO does, besides dealing with the regular management, day-to-day management of government, is also about aligning and working with the county executive on framing a budget. And so, Mr. Manalino, just talk to me a little bit about what you anticipate in terms of how you would do things a little bit differently when it comes to working with the state and being able to build a better relationship between Annapolis and Montgomery County to ensure that Montgomery County gets its fair share of revenue.
Councilmember Rice, you and I are the veterans of many a battle, even together, the veterans together of many of a battle on state aid. I had the pleasure of, as many of you know, I had the pleasure of serving with you on the Kerwin, what came to be known as the Kerwin Commission. I think it's going to be a very active engagement in the state legislature on the details of, especially the education funding issues. I mean, because let's face it, our biggest relationship with the state is money for K-12 education. We get money for MC, we get some money for transportation, but the big kahuna is the money coming to MCPS, and the big thing on the horizon is the Kerwin Commission and those recommendations, and trying to figure out both what are they going to be implemented this year? Are they going to be postponed? The governor vetoed the package. Will the legislature override it? I think as we get closer to the legislative session, we will all be working in tandem. I expect between you and your personal engagement in Annapolis, with the county executive's consistent engagement in Annapolis, and with our delegation, we will be, I think we'll be pushing forward on trying to secure and protect the amount of money that's coming to our school system. I would imagine the things that are happening to our school system around enrollment are happening in every other school system right now, since every part of Maryland is going to school right now in a virtual learning environment. So it will be fascinating to see how that's going to impact all these different funding formulas. And I think we have to be thoughtful about engaging in that conversation early on. I think one of the things that I bring to the table for this position is, having the ability and the credibility, the ability to reach people in Annapolis, and the credibility with, I think, what I'm talking about and my reputation for being a thoughtful and fair-minded person when it comes to budget issues, while being a strong defender and advocate for Montgomery County's interests. So I look forward to engaging with you, with the county executive on those issues, with our delegation.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilmember Albornoz.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, Mr. Manalino, thank you for stepping up and your willingness to take on this critically important position. I have had, unique perspectives on the position, both internally with the previous administration, serving obviously under Chief Administrative Officer Tim Firestein, and now in the legislative branch. And as you said, the relationship between the council and the second floor is so critical on so many different levels. And so I appreciate the perspective that you bring, the experience that you have, and the depth of understanding of the challenges that lay ahead. So, and I do commend the county executive for your nomination. I just have a couple of general management questions. I'd like to hear a little bit more about how you approach management. On any given day, with all the departments, everyone's challenge or problem, and they're often complicated and difficult to address. They're all the problem of the CAO. And so how do you prioritize? How do you go about trying to process all of these challenges that are all hitting you at the same time? What have you found to be effective? And you've been in the job for a little bit of time now. And so, what are some of those lessons learned in how to prioritize? Because in any given day, especially now, as you heard from my colleagues and as we all know, these are unprecedented times.
So, I think you, prioritize by, if you wanted this level of specificity, you prioritize by the life and safety issues that we face, like getting the testing issue was, and getting that back up and running was clearly important for our overall strategy. So, budgeting my time that way. Getting, establishing a strong relationship with the deputy CAO and the assistant CAOs and the role that they have in working with all the departments and the relationships that they've built over time, and understanding what they're working on. Trying to actually engage people and, Councilmember Albornoz, I know all of you have struggled with, this digital world, this virtual world. It is interesting trying to communicate with people when you can't be together. I'm sure you were used to very much that senior management team where you got together in the room and you actually talked. So I've been a big one on trying to make sure I'm actually talking to people, ideally through Teams or Zoom, and actually making that face-to-face connection with people in trying to understand what they're looking at. I don't want to depend upon, and I don't know if you wanted this level of specificity, I don't want to depend upon email. I'm very much, maybe it's the politician in me. I value the face-to-face with people. And so it's trying to engage with all of the managers. I've tried to lay out, who are, as there are different departments, different size, different budgets. Trying to figure out, prioritize where I put my time and effort, and trying to put out fires and identify weaknesses and the things that I've seen as the budget director over the last few years, and try to figure out ways that we can continue to make progress on a variety of fronts. So it has been trying to rebuild a strong sense of cohesion on the second floor that has been weakened by the fact no one's on the second floor, and you've all faced it with your own offices of how do you keep everyone together when in fact no one is actually together and motivated and engaged. So it's been trying to rebuild those networks that were understandably weakened and frayed because of our quick move to telework and what has happened due to the coronavirus.
Thank you, and then appreciate that answer. And then my final question is, obviously the relationship between the CAO and the county executive is paramount. Can also be fluid, depending on what challenges lay ahead. How would you describe the conversations you've had with the county executive regarding his expectations for the chief administrative officer position, and how do you envision working with the county executive, obviously to carry forward his vision for the county, but also to make sure that the trains are leaving on time and that those very important, less visible administrative functions continue to move forward? how do you envision the relationship between you and the county executive currently and potentially evolving?
So I've had the good fortune of knowing the county executive for 20 years through a variety of roles, from when he was on the Tacoma Park Town Council. I actually spent a short period of time living in Tacoma Park and knew of him through his role in the local government, and then a variety of his runs and service on the council while I was in the General Assembly. So I think I know Mark Elrich. I've worked with Mark on a variety of initiatives. I've disagreed with Mark on occasion. I mean, the one thing that that I've respected about Mark and that I've really enjoyed, and I found the same experience with County Executive Duncan, who I thought was an effective county executive. He wants to hear your opinion, and he wants, in fact, to be challenged. He wants to, and I think it can be intimidating for many people when they walk in the room because they only know him as the county executive. They don't know Mark Elrich, the person, and they don't know that he actually does want to engage in a back and forth. And you've probably all experienced this. He likes to debate people. He likes to argue, but I think he always listens. I think in some ways I think about the relationship, not that he is as old as my father, but I think of it somewhat the conversations I have with my father, where we might argue with each other, and then later in the day actually step back and listen to what was said and have the back and forth. So I like the fact that the county executive always wants me and the other people around him to challenge his assumptions. As many of you who served with him know, that sometimes that can be a difficult thing to do because he is a man of strong opinions and on many issues. So it is engaging with him. The nice part is he wants to talk things out. He is always accessible. Morning meetings, late night meetings as we go over things, weekend meetings to update what's going on, for me to apprise him of what I've been working on and what he's been working on, so that we can make sure we're on the same page. You know, I'm sure there are times I have to say no to him because it's something that cannot be done. It can't be done because it's not going to get through all of you. It cannot be done because we don't have the resources or we don't have the authority to do it. But the county executive is never short on ideas and never short on pushing the organization to do a better job. And I want to make sure that I help him along with that.
Well, thank you, Mr. Madaleno. And just my final thought as a comment, I appreciate you saying the coalition building, because you're right. In order to be able to move things forward, you do have to find common ground in a variety of issues. And I think the Chief Administrative Officer position is uniquely positioned to help find that common ground. And that's a big part of the job. It's putting out fires, but also bringing folks to the table and helping to problem solve in a way that's productive and effective. And that extends to our sister county agencies, who, we talk about the siloed approach even within the executive branch, but it's compounded when you have some of our sister county agencies who have a very similar and important mission to county government, but are not always on the same page. And so I would just encourage you, and it has been your nature throughout your professional career, to be proactive in seeking guidance and thoughts. And I would just encourage you to continue to do that, even though it's going to become more difficult with all that you're going to have on your plate at any given time, but it's worth the investment. And then finally, just listen to Fariba and you'll be fine. So thank you very much, Mr. Madaleno.
Thank you. We all do that. That's
I
good
think
advice.
that's what the county seal translates to from French. In Fariba we trust.
There you go. Very nice. Vice, how do you follow that one? Vice President Hawker, please.
I won't try, Mr. President. Mr. Madaleno, so good to see you appointed to this position. Congratulations. I enjoyed your comments, particularly about diversifying our workforce and about the applicability of the skills developed in your previous elected offices. The list you rattled off of working with others collaboratively and communicating and listening to others and solving problems and responding to their needs sounds like what I want to see in a CAO. So I was glad to hear you be attentive to those off the top of your head. I would ask you to elaborate a little bit on the relations with the county council. I don't think we're airing any dirty laundry here. It's been inconsistent. It's been reported that way. We've had various special assistants and ACAOs and yourself and others who have been the point person for the outreach to the council. Who's in charge of that now, and how will it be delivered under your leadership?
Well, Dale Tibbet still coordinates all of the formal relationship back and forth between the council and the executive branch, all of the documents that have to go back and forth, the submissions of the appropriations, of all the different notifications that have to go over in the nominations that go over to you, where we've tried to make it clearer on the floor, I should say, on the second floor, as to who are the point people on a variety of initiatives, and even people obviously off the second floor, who obviously will be working directly with all of you on specific issues. It is a good point that we should be very clear to you and your staffs who they should contact on what issue on the second floor, so that you know who to get answers from in a timely way. I would appreciate your feedback as to if that is not happening. I think we are better served if you pick up the phone and call me and say, this has to change, that, this needs to improve, I'm not getting this information, or maybe one day calling to say, hey, really nice job, but that it is something that I value the feedback, and I would much rather hear it from any of you directly than to read about it in the newspaper or on a blog. And so that having that degree of back and forth would be very helpful. Again, I would, as I mentioned earlier in my remarks, we have the Director of Strategic Partnership position that's been created. And I would like to talk to you about actually moving forward with actually filling that position, so that there is a clear single person who can be the source of constant communication between all of you and your staffs and the executive branch. And I know everything is even challenged more by the fact that you're not across the street. Although I can tell some of you are across the street today, but that we're not having that ability to catch each other in the hallway, to grab lunch with each other, to do the normal relationship building and information sharing that is critical to actually the whole enterprise operate.
Thank you. That's helpful. And I agree, clarifying that the overall assignment through Dale, but also individual point persons on special initiatives each time would be really helpful. Not just, to, as you said, to my staff and probably others, to my colleagues, because it seems like it builds in inefficiencies when we're not really sure who's speaking for the administration or who can solve a problem. I like what you said about accountability and responsiveness. I think we're all very focused on that. None of us like when balls get dropped. I expect some balls to get dropped, in government ordinarily and the private sector. I know this administration's been dealing with unprecedented challenges, both public health and economic ones. But in terms of just, not even speaking for myself, but just for constituents, when I see hardworking business owners who apply for a grant and they not only get the grant, which is understandable, but when the agency in charge can't communicate with them about the outcome of the decision for 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 months at a time, that's really, after being reminded, that's really frustrating. But now you're in charge, so we're counting on you to fix things like that. I think overall your appointment represents an outstanding choice by the county executive. You're somebody I've been fortunate enough to know, work with in various capacities for 20 years now. And you were terrific state lawmaker that brought great integrity and values to the job, and I really appreciate your outstanding understanding of and commitment to Montgomery County, which I think is going to serve you very well. And I appreciate your approach to solving problems using data and innovation and not always worrying about what the rule happens to be or the precedent or other things, but getting a problem solved to be responsive to constituents. So I'm grateful for your appointment, grateful to the county executive, and looking forward to continuing work with you. Thanks, Rich.
Thank you, Councilmember. Thank you, Councilmember Navarro.
Thank you very much. Well, Mr. Madaleno, this has been a very, I think, interesting conversation. I've appreciated many of your responses. Let me just say that obviously these last 2 years have been quite a wild ride. I think that last year under my presidency, obviously we were ushering in a lot of changes, a lot of transitions, both on the, of course, administration side and also on the council side. And we all worked really hard around the clock to establish, as much as possible processes that would alleviate and would, to the best of our abilities, make sure that we would have efficiencies in place, because that's what our residents, our constituents expect. Obviously, with COVID-19, things have just been upended in so many different ways. But I say that because I believe that's why, for me, also, this question of, having in place someone who will be, focused 100% on how to manage this vast administration is so critical. And some issues were already raised about, the difference between being a politician and now shifting into this role. And I appreciated your answer, but really would want to make sure that, I don't want to belabor the point, but that that, at least from my perspective, that is my expectation, right? My expectation is that, following in the footsteps of Mr. Firestein and Mr. Romer, folks who I was just, thinking back about the fact that they didn't seem to be people that talked a lot. They were just really busy bees, making sure that the administration was solid, and that notwithstanding whatever differences there may have been between the council and the executive, you knew that, when you spoke to Mr. Firestein and when you spoke to Mr. Romer, that it was solid, that things would be followed through, that it was consistent, and it was completely trustworthy. And, that's what I'm hoping for, because it's needed more than ever. So, you did say, I think in one of your responses, about the politician in you. I'm hoping that you'll be able to kind of start to put that aside a bit, because that, I think, is a concern. And it's been raised, and not just in a blog. I mean, it's been raised by some folks in terms of, hey, is this really the best fit? And I'm a big believer that, the executive has made a decision, and I will support that. But I think it is important to bring this up on the record and say that more than ever, your expertise, as you described before going into elected office, is a very, very important aspect of what brings you to this space. And for the sake of the institution, which I think these days there seems to be so much erosion at the national level of respect for institutions. I think, out of respect for the institution, you have big shoes to fill, because this is what the county needs right now, I think, more than ever, definitely compounded by COVID-19. So I just wanted to make that statement because, you did already respond. I also just want to say that some conversation, I guess you touched upon the racial equity and social justice law, and I want to make sure also that it's clear that this law is not just that. It's not just an act. This is critical for our county because of who we are. This is absolutely a county that's majority people of color. The census will show, I think, that how that is even more the case and how that has grown. And I think it is critical that we not just work on passing laws, and this is something that I'm very proud of, have worked with my colleagues that, all of last year. But you know what? We still don't have the regulations. We still don't have the impact statements that are needed. And here we are almost about, in fall of 2020. So I say that because it is, I think, indicative of what some of my colleagues have raised in terms of follow-up, follow-throughs on very important issues that have huge impact. And so I just want to make sure that as we continue to move forward, that these issues that some of us bring up time and time again, that they are taken seriously. And if there are any barriers, like you mentioned, OHR issues, we've had meetings with OHR, we've had geo sessions with OHR to examine and explore, are there systems, are there processes that we need to address, modify, etc. And let's do that. Because I would not want to hear the same old, which we've heard quite a bit with the last administration, when the council would, approve a particular initiative and a year would go by and we would be told that the initiative was not up and running because they had not hired people because of OHR issues. We can't do that. So, I would just, I guess in closing, would just like to hear from you, just some specific observations that you have about what are some of those particular changes that you believe would be, good to begin to implement in order to tighten up the issues of follow through, of ensuring that when legislation are adopted, that they're implemented. And by the way, the racial equity and social justice, we did not make the effective date right away precisely to give the executive. We said August of 2020. We passed it in November 2019, but we did that because we wanted to give the executive time to get ready. And here we are. So, any additional thoughts? I know you've shared some, but any additional thoughts on ways that you, as the top manager, are going to begin to, implement in order to expedite this issue of follow through and just general efficiencies?
So I have to say that when I returned to county government in 2018, I was surprised by the culture that I found amongst some people across the enterprise in their relationship to the council. As a former legislator, I have an appreciation for the legislative process and the role that you play within our system. Now, as I'm sure Council Members Rice and Hucker will tell you, the General Assembly is quite a different. The House of Delegates is a very different organization than the Montgomery County Council, 9 as opposed to 141, right? But
you can't hide on the council. It's just 9, It's contact sport.
And not that Councilmember Rice or Hucker were ever ones to hide in Annapolis.
Never, not them.
I'll be very clear about the two of them, but I think it is, in some ways my immediate predecessor came in with a formula that he wanted to implement, and I can't disagree with his motives, his desire to make this a better organization, but it sometimes got in the way of the other things that the county government needed to do. From my humble opinion, there's only one county executive. There's only one approach, and we need to work with internally as an organization towards implementing his vision. Work with all of you towards figuring out how we all come together around some goals and have that communication and participation. So I do think part of it is reorganizing, and I've touched a little bit upon this about reorganizing the CAO operation and the rest of the second floor so that it is responsive to the directions of the county executive and the direction of all of you. It is sharing information throughout the organization, and then within the executive branch and across to the council and to the partner organizations, which I think it was Councilmember Albornoz who brought up the fact that we've got, not only do we have the executive branch, we've got MCPS and MC and Park and Planning and WCC Water that we all have to work with. So it is. I think it's being focused on doing things like that. That you have the council and the executive have collaborated on the racial equity and social justice legislation, and that's the goal. And there are deadlines in that law. That's what you have to follow and get done. And that is a more important task than necessarily a turn the curve hearing about one of the small departments. So it's focusing everyone's limited amount of time. I mean, even if we are working 24/7, there's not 25/8. So it's it's being focused on what are the clear priorities that the county executive and the county council have set out, and working.
I appreciate that.
Those priorities.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I will close also by just reiterating on the record that communication to our residents, especially those who are non-English speaking, and in particular, we know the Latino community is so large, continues to be a challenge. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how many times I have to say this, and Councilor Albornoz and all my colleagues and I have worked on this, but it does continue to be a challenge. I mean, as of 2 days ago, that I received some something that a contractor, I guess, the county has hired and is starting to do for Vision Zero, and the outreach and the communication, the Spanish was just completely atrocious. And so I say that again because it is 2020, and I say this all the time, we should not be in the position of still putting out information that is incoherent and that is subpar with no quality control. It's, we're too advanced to be doing that still. And so, again, I hope that you can put that on your, list of things to do. We have lots of assets in the administration, so that should never be an issue. And I get exhausted sometimes because it just keeps happening. So again, just wanted to point that out on behalf of this community. We really do need to do a better job, especially when it's information that is so crucial and has an impact on the rest of the residents. I think that we need to do that and continue to do that well. With that, I thank you for stepping up, and appreciate the executives sending your name over, and look forward to appointing you.
Thank you. And I have to tell you, how much, like when you sent over the registration form, I think, and it was like, oh my God. Like, I mean, this is where I mentioned early on about my kids being in Spanish immersion. And I was like, oh my God, you got to sit here and help me with this. What is wrong? What is wrong with this? So it has been a source of great frustration. For me, it's been a great source of great frustration for the county executive, who has far more Spanish skills than I do. And he has expressed frustration. He's walked in and said, oh my God, look at this.
Yeah.
What is going on?
Well, maybe if the opportunity ever comes up, maybe it would be great to hire a bilingual, bicultural person in high up position in the administration. So if that opportunity becomes available, that might be something to do. Maybe an assistant CAO or something like that would be great.
Yes, I understand. I feel my language skills are, I know Annapolis and Rockvillian, and those are my two. That's the bilingual skills I will bring to this operation.
Thank you. Councilmember Glass.
Thank you, Mr. President. Rich, thank you very much for engaging in this good conversation. And I emphasize the word conversation because what we need to do is increase this type of dialogue between the county executive's team and the council, which I think would be a really good thing. And I know that you've been working on that since your time in the cabinet, so to speak. And so let's continue these types of conversations. So thank you for this discourse. And during the conversation, in your opening remarks, you talked about the enormous undertaking that is currently happening at the Board of Elections and the work here in local government to restore faith in the election. Mm-hmm. And what that faith is actually about is about building trust. And you are here today because there was a breach of trust. And so in your role, I am curious to know, as the Chief Administrative Officer, what steps do you think need to be taken to restore trust in the elected officials and appointed leaders here in Montgomery County?
Well, I think you instill trust by actually delivering on your promises. I think you instill trust by actually having a well-functioning government that can actually deliver services, whatever they are. A road without potholes to providing health care, providing a functioning testing apparatus for the current crisis. I think we do so by demonstrating our commitment to the highest ethical standards that we can, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to proactively address any issues that anyone might come across with my husband's employment, even though I should say he has been here for 20 years, and was actually started with the county government when I was with the county government on the first go round. So I do think we are looking at some changes to some internal policies to make sure that the senior executives across the board don't have outside employment. I know some people do already have permission for outside employment, but that should be an expectation moving forward. That your focus is on this job, and any senior executive job in Montgomery County is busy enough that's where you need to be focusing all of your attention, and that there be no suggestion of a conflict or a lack of focus on what the people expect you to do.
I appreciate that candor, because I agree with you and look forward to working with you to make that happen. And so yes, thank you. And ultimately, we all need to work together to create a better community for the 1.1 million people here in Montgomery County, and especially in these trying times as we deal with economic crises and health crises. And so I look forward to working with you to make our communities, strengthen our community, and make sure that the relationship between government and the residents of Montgomery County is stronger, so that they continue putting faith in us and that we continue doing the good work that they ask of us. So I look forward to working with you to make that happen, and thank you very much for stepping up.
And if I may, Councilmember Glass, it's not just our residents, but it's also the employees of the organization. I mean, it's obviously we want our residents, we want our taxpayers, our voters to feel confident in the organization, but all of our employees have to also feel confident about the leadership of the people, especially the managers, whether it's me to any supervisor in the organization, that they are working under ethical standards and are engaged with trying to make sure everyone is moving the organization forward.
Excellent point. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Madaleno. The vote on your confirmation is scheduled, and it's tentative, obviously, but it is scheduled for next Tuesday or next meeting on September 29th. So thank you for your answers. Thank you for being with us. And with that, we are going to adjourn so the Government Operations Committee and the Audit Committee can now have a meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, all of you.
Remain closed at all times as construction access as well as staging continues.
On Monday, July 13, 2020, Washingtonian Boulevard